Hello everybody and welcome back to another round of Rory Story Cubes. Today we're going to tell 3 more weird stories with the help of some cubes, which I shall select of course 9 of each time and put them here for you to see. After which you should pause the video and try to make something out of the cubes that I have managed to roll. Let me know what your story is in the comments, and after that I'll tell my version of the tale. Either way, let's first grab some dice and get started. Just gonna do a load of messing over here in the background. Like I would like some of these. This one, that's 4, that's 6. And I need 3 more. There we go. We've had that one a few times already last time. Right, so this is 9 of them over here. I'm gonna roll them. And then we shall see what we get. There we go. A shooting star, always nice. And this looks like a safe, that's right. The rotating thing and a handle. This looks like an emergency kit. Put that over there. This is a satellite. And this is, oops, this is the dice I turned. This is a cat. Hooray. Could never have too many cats. Except if you like dogs, of course. Which I do. And this is a toxic symbol. And another one of these Japanese temple gates, a spyglass, you might want to put it like this I suppose, and 2 people who like each other, apparently. So this is the point where you pause the video and try to figure out what your story would be if you were given these 9 dice to work with. Let me know in the comments below. Meanwhile, I'll take a look if I can make something out of this. Let's see now. We'll just get started with 2 friends, because they are the most obvious subjects of our story. There were 2 friends, and they were interested in getting rich fast, and they were really out looking for their fortune. One day they saw a shooting star, and they thought, you know what? Stars, shooting stars in particular, are lucky signs or lucky symbols. Maybe we should go and check out someplace, I don't know, where you can maybe get some money, like for instance a bank. Perhaps we can find a bank nearby, and I learned some skills back in the day as a programmer or whatever it is, somebody, and I used to have a stethoscope, says the other one. It's Frank and Bob, by the way. Frank and Bob thought that they had it in them to rob a bank, so they went to the bank, and of course they found this thing after hours, naturally, not during daytime. They found the safe in the back. It was one of those old-fashioned ones, because it was a very small bank in the middle of nowhere, possibly the last one out there who has a regular safe. And so I figured, you know what, I have, we'll just use this as a stethoscope, so we can, maybe the spyglass will work as a stethoscope. That's what I thought, because he had a spyglass which made him see the bank in the first place, so they knew where to go. So I used the stethoscope to try and like put it up against the thing itself to listen when they hear like a click or something that might suggest that they're on to something. And after a while, this safe, which looked like it was really old-fashioned, actually sent out a signal that there was something going on. And so a warning got received somewhere in a database. And after about a minute of them messing around with this stethoscope and of course the safe, there was an explosion with toxic waste all over the place, because they did not want anybody touching their money. Rather, one of those things, like, you remember that Batman episode where he decided to mark all the bills with some type of radiation so that they could be tracked? Well, that's basically what this device was, but then times 10. So it exploded, it was supposed to only mark their bills, but instead it also made these guys very sick, and they had to go to the emergency room. Which couldn't really help them anyway, because they don't have too much of radiation sickness, so they had to send them to some special place. Ultimately, the last place that they could send them was a temple, because we are now in Japan, for them to basically state their dying wishes, because radiation poisoning is really bad if you get a lot of it. I don't know if you've ever seen like the documentary on Chernobyl back in the day, when they like set a whole bunch of people in to try and throw a bunch of sand and water on top of the molten core, and these people were not doing well after a while. And the same is happening to these 2 various unfortunate creatures. And after they were done saying their prayers, Frank says, you know what, Bob, I knew it was going to go wrong, because right after I saw this shooting star here, I also noticed that there was a cat crossing our path, and black cats in particular, they're no good. Well, says Bob, thanks for letting me know now, and I'm guessing that I'm going to change my last wish to you, I don't know, being very unhappy in your afterlife forever and ever. And so says Frank, thank you very much. I hope to never see you again in any of my lives, past, present, or future. And that was the end of the bank robber twins, or brothers, or friends. They were not as lucky as they initially thought. Be careful with cats, and that sort of thing. Right, so that was a bit of a confusing part. I'm gonna go and grab the next bunch. This bunch is gonna go aside so we don't have them second time, not in the second story anyway. And then we have more space to grab more dice. And different dice than the ones we had before. Maybe we should just not include the ones we're using the entire time. Then we can always get new dice every round. Let's see now. This is 5 of them. And that means we need 4 extra. There they are. Alrighty then, let's roll these guys. So the unfortunate bank robbers were our first tale. Second, we have this guy who looks like he's accusing somebody or trying to point in the right direction. Perhaps this is the direction he's pointing in. This is a foot, or a footstep rather. This looks like a bunch of towers, like you would find in Russia. Next bunch. Oh yeah. This is a planet, Saturn, I think. And a ray gun. We're going up into space again, and we have an emergency food drop by those things, and a chest, which is opening and revealing treasure, and some cogs. So make sure to pause the video now so you can make your own story out of these dice. Let me know in the comments below. Meanwhile, I'll try to figure something out by myself. Once again, we only really have one character to start with. You could start with something else really, but I think I'll just start with this guy. There was once a guy who thought it would be really cool to go to a place like Saturn. Unfortunately, he didn't really have a place to, or at least a what would I say, ship to travel with, spaceship. But he went to his friend who lived in one of these gigantic towers. And he said, you know what, I'd like to go to Saturn. Maybe you can help me because I hear you're really smart and you tend to think a lot. Perhaps you can also make something for me, engineer something for me, because you may have had a degree, I don't know. I haven't always been checking up on you, I'm sorry about that. Could we have some coffee, by the way, sometime more regular, to catch up on old times? Well, says his friend, I think that's possible, but you will have to go get something for me. Oh, he says, what's that? Well, a treasure. But I'm not entirely sure where it is, though. You might want to start looking over here. Whoops, there goes our drop. There we go. So says a friend, that's good. I'll go and look up the treasure for you. Because you were such good friends, even though you never really talked, we should have some coffee sometime. And so he decided to walk a very long distance. Such a long distance, as a matter of fact, that after a while he got very tired and hungry and all that sort of thing. But lo and behold, he found hanging from one of the trees a box with a parachute with a red cross on it, which usually meant something good, right? But once he finally managed to get it down, all it contained was one of these things, and he thought maybe there's something inside, maybe it's one of those cheese whiz things, but no, it was actually a gun. He didn't shoot himself, fortunately, but it did help him get to this place a little bit faster, because all the obstacles that were once in his way were now easily zapped, and he managed to walk for many miles. Even though he was still hungry and thirsty, he could occasionally rob somebody because he had a ray gun, of course, so he had no problems finding the chest, which he opened and found to contain absolutely not much that he could do anything with, but they were parts. So he brought them back to his friend, right here. And his friend was like, you know what, thanks so much. I'm gonna build you a spaceship, but it'll take me 3 years to do so. So come back in that time. And so he says, you know what, thanks. I got your ship parts, I'll see you in 3 years. But of course we'll have some coffee in between time because I haven't seen her in such a long time and all that sort of thing, you know. For old time's sake. So 3 years later, I guess this will also have to stand for the passage of time. He comes back, and he gets in his spaceship, and he finally gets to Saturn, and finds that there is no atmosphere, at least none worth mentioning, and he ends up dying. But that's okay, because he had reached his goal, and that's all he really wanted. Had no plans to do anything on Saturn anyway. So he ended up in where he wanted to be. So it is sort of a happy ending, even though it was also the end of his life. But what else were you going to do on Saturn anyway? He didn't have enough fuel to go all the way back home. So that was that. He was happy, he was dead. End of story. So, that's that story. Putting these aside so we don't grab that one a second time, or this bunch at least. Now for the third and last story of today, we are using... Oopsie daisy. Now if you think that these knives are too small, by the way, I was at the American Book Center the other day and they had a really large box, and I looked at it and I wondered if there were like a whole bunch of dice in there, but it turns out that they were actually really big, like this size. I'm not really sure how big exactly, but certainly very big for, I guess, for if you want to play with children, so that they have like a really big dice to roll, and who knows what they can do with it. Either way, if you're like a little bit nearsighted, like me, only grabbing 8 dice instead of 9. One more, please. This one. There, that makes it 9. Then you can go and get that box. For now, though, we're gonna roll these small dice. And see what we get. We get our Minotaur friend again! And we get the cup. He's also connected to this one. And the pyramid. Why do we always get these guys at the same time? And the guy in the glass tube. He's also back. Now about these 5. Yep. And that's a scarab, also not a stranger. A bowl of rice, I think it is. A microscope, that's the word, an abacus. There, and this looks like Little Red Riding Hood. So we have 3 potential candidates. Either way, pause the video now so you can come up with your own story. Leave them in the comments below. Once again, I want to hear or read your stories rather, because I won't hear it when I read it. Although I'll probably read it out in my mind, so I kind of hear you talking even though it's not you. Alright, let's see, what can we do with this stuff here? Well, there's somebody drilling in the background as well, so if you hear that, my apologies, but I have no idea what he's working on. One day, Little Red Riding Hood was very hungry, because if they're not thirsty or looking for some place to live, then they're hungry. She already had something to drink, so she didn't need any more of that. She just wanted to eat something. So she goes in and looks around, and eventually she finds a pyramid. And inside the pyramid she expected to see scarabs and things like that, but instead she found the Minotaur. Grabbing a little dash real quick right now. And she asks him if he knows where the food is. Well, he says, according to my calculations, there is actually a lab nearby. And they've got this guy in a glass tube, and I've been trying to get them for ages because it looks really yummy, but I haven't been able to get in there because it's fairly well guarded. Well, says Little Red Riding Hood, I can use the the innocence of youth to try and get in there and help you out to that place if you promise me there'll be food. Because a guy in a tube, well, that might be interesting for you, but it's not really that interesting for me. So, well, they left the pyramid because the Minotaur promised that there was actually something there for her. And they went on their way. And outside the pyramid they did encounter a lot of these scarabs, because they were crawling all over the place. For some reason they avoided the pyramids altogether because this guy was living there. Eventually they ended up at the lab. And they couldn't knock at the door because it was a secret place, of course, but Little Red Riding Hood remembered that she had this cup with her. And it used to contain regular wine, but with a little bit of magic, which she of course had as a fairy tale creature, she turned into acid and she burnt a hole into the door, one of the side panels, so they could actually get inside the lab. And once inside there, they found, they found the universe. They found the guy in the tube at last, which of course the Minotaur tried to eat right away after being turned into, what the hell is this? Tree. No idea. Which of course he tried to eat, but he found out eventually that it was such a tough tube. He had miscalculated his strength, he could not get inside. That didn't matter to Little Red Riding Hood though, because she of course found that there was actually a fridge with some food in it. So she ate it, and she snuck out the door to let this guy be taken over by security and eventually end up in the tube just like himself, because of course a Minotaur is very interesting and they want to research all that, they want to know everything about him, and of course make some calculations based on his motor skills, etc. Blah blah blah. So then he ended up being the research subject, and Little Red Riding Hood had her food. And that's all that matters. So she went home, and she was happy, and this guy, not so much. Right, so that was the story of Little Red Riding Hood who wanted a bowl of food, and there were some scarabs in there somewhere. Not sure what to do with some dice sometimes, so you just have to use them up in all sorts of creative manners, which is what this game is kind of about. Alright. So make sure to post your stories below, I really want to read them. So far I haven't gotten a single one, so make sure to leave one so I can read stuff. I'll see you next time, thanks for watching and bye bye for now.